Okay, here we go. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday, April 1st, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. One of the things driving in the East Coast, man, something you don't see out in the South, or maybe more deep Southeast, or even in the West Coast, is the amount of potholes. I got a few things to talk about today, folks. Grab your coffee. You're watching me at a replay. Comment below replay if you're not watching this live and direct. Although this video was recorded. Any which way, folks. How was your Easter? Easter, a holiday that is celebrated by many, but practiced by few. What do I mean by that? Easter, a holiday celebrated by many, but practiced by few. A lot of people like the holidays just for the celebration, or the tradition is celebrating tradition, right? Traditional celebrating. No real meaning, no real value of what the actual holiday is, entailed the deeper meaning. As we proceed through these economic times, advanced technologies and other things of human advancement, sometimes I wonder if our humanity is being lost in the seek for better technology. And you have to ask the question, has many civilizations gone by the wayside because of advancements in technology and lack of humanity? I was in an interesting mindset meeting last night where one of the people asked about, is generational wealth a myth? And it brings me back to the same thought of like when even people like my wife used to say to me when we first met, money can't make you happy. It can't, true. But money is a tool used to create happiness. And that's always the misconception about money. Money doesn't have any owners, it only has spenders. So you can create a life for you to minimize or mitigate problems that you're having in your life. But I've been in situations where I've been in debt, poor credit, and life wasn't as meaningful. Life was very tight, very stressful than it was when I have money in a situation like now. But the stress is a lot different. It takes on a different form. Because the stress now is providing financial provisions. As before, when I was younger, 20 years ago, I didn't have money and I was in debt because of my financial decisions. So my stress in my youth, boy, the gems are dropping early. Get a bag out. Get your Jacob Jewelers bags out. All right, get your diamond bags out and your soft cloths, because the gems are dropping early, folks. In my youth, I was having financial stress because of my financial decisions that led me to having bad credit, bad debt, or over leveraging myself, or not leveraging myself at all financially. Buying cars, going on dates, taking out girls, not really developing real estate like it was in my early 30s or early to mid 30s, when I actually started getting into land ownership, land investing, and what is now an author and YouTube channel, the way it's progressing now. And even though I was in my 20s, I always feared that your 20s will be a waste of your economic potential, because it's a great place to start. You're young. Excuse me. You have the benefit of time. You tend to be able to qualify for insurance like IULs or life insurance. You tend to get the best rates of things that I would say, let me just say that certain things related to your youth and health, you're going to get the best rates on. Other things such as car insurance, when you start to become more independent, your rates will be high because, one, you lack credit and a credit history. I mean, you might have good credit, but you don't have any good credit history. And then the other is that you're high risk. Being young is high risk because you haven't really settled down in life yet. And we're over by Villanova University, which is straight down the street if I were to keep straight instead of veering right. You know, it's raining and you might think to rush to work, and everybody's in a rush, but if you really look at it, sometimes you ever speed past a car and you're in traffic, and then you're rushing to get to work, you get past the car, and the car ends up catching up to you to the next light. It's kind of the theory on like why rushing is not really, you don't really get anywhere trying to rush. You really don't. So again, you're not making the best decisions in your youth financially. You know, a lot of times you might be living with a parent or in a situation where you've got a good financial coverage, and because you're youthful and you want to have your independence, you want to get out on your own and strike it out on your own, you may trade in some of the benefits of having a family that can cover you, in the sense of you have reduced rent. You may not be paying fully for the utilities. You know, it's not a one-to-one situation where if you have your own apartment, you're responsible for all the utilities, all the bills, anything that happens. Like, it is all on your own. And it is a rites of passage, let's be clear. It is a rite of passage that for you to feel like I'm on my own, I'm independent, and it's going to teach me some things. Again, that is true, but sometimes I think we're following a very old model that used to work. We're still in the last tenets of that one income can support multiple members in a family type mindset, and it simply doesn't work in today's economic environment. You need help. You need streams of income, or you need ways to reduce your overhead. I mean, that's corporate 101. But sometimes as parents, we put our kids in situations where we force them to say, hey, you got to go through this economic rites of passage, get out on your own and seek out your own world, where the world is literally gobbling people up into the workforce, and they will no longer be able to get ahead economically because they do not have lower overhead. Their overhead is at the maximum. This is why you see a lot of young people get roommates. Is to kind of lower their overhead so they can split the cost on things that they may be able to afford, or they may afford but they cannot build revenue or capital or savings in other areas because of they're maxed out, they're up to their head or their limit, their economic limit when it comes to their overhead, what it costs to live. And you'll see the same people sometimes without proper guidance, without proper mentorship. And please believe, mentorship does not always come from your parents. Mentorship does not always come from your immediate circle and someone who's just older than you. A lot of times, mentorship comes from people who are handling situations where you want to be. Such as some people come to me because they want to understand how expensive it is with a family with 3 kids, having your kids be tutored, having your kids in the top school district, and being priced out of a real estate market. How do you gain that poise? And when I say priced out of real estate market, let's be clear, we're talking about normal homes that would be under 400 or 500,000 in other areas, but here, because of the area where I live at, they're 1.3 to 1.5. These are not mansions. These are just your regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath. But because of the economic viability, the income levels of the people in this area, I'm on the lower end of that income. I'm the poor person in a rich neighborhood, if you will. But I've got staying power because, again, the goal is to climb up through the ranks, not go over there where I can be the top dog at another area. I don't want to be a guy with a mansion in a lower economic level. I want to be the guy who's sitting on the bench of the Lakers teams trying to play with Jordan and Kobe and attempting to become a starter. That's what I'm looking to be. So I don't mind being where the competition is higher and I've got to now compete to get to the top. Because a lot of people are afraid of competition like that, so they'll go where it's safe. They'll go where they can have more. But again, we're doing something different on multiple economic fronts, because my children are going to a top tier educational area. So again, when you are young, you're making decisions, financial decisions, that have a big impact on your hardships in life, your stress. And a lot of times you're making those decisions out of your will or want for independence in life. That's why you're doing it. Yeah, that's right, guy. Go right over here. Just go ahead and go speed up, bud. That's what you should do. Speed right through it. See this light up here with the 12 is obviously, yeah, that's right. Make sure the people see you, bud. See, the people will run right through you, bro. So, and the other part of it is that when you're older and you are a family man such as myself, 3 kids that are growing up, it gets more expensive. They need new clothes. Every time I turn around, my daughter's foot grows. Her foot is getting bigger because they need different sneakers. My son needs new sneakers. The baby's growing. You need baby food if you're feeding them organic. These things run a cost. And when inflation increases, you now are stuck with a higher cost of living for the same demands that your family has, right? So your kids want, you still have 3 kids, you still have a wife, you still have a house or a place to live, apartment, whatever you have, your car, you still have the same uses in life, meaning the same bills. Your kids are still, you still have 3 kids. That's not changing for you. Those are just kind of these staples in your life. And with those staples, the demands become ever increasing. So, because they're taking from you, not in a bad way, but they're taking from something that when you're single, if you had the same amount of money, same amount of resources, they would. Okay, don't know how I lost you there. But like I was saying, sorry folks, I don't know how that turned off, but any which way. What I was saying is that the difference in when you're young, you're buying something, you're saving money, you're working, trying to build investments because you want to see how much money you have. It's about how much you have in the bank, how much you have worth, it's this and that. But when you have a family, when you have children that you're looking towards for a future, you start thinking about what you can leave behind. So it's not just a massive amount that I can go and take vacations, because after a while, you've taken a lot of vacations. You've gone to different places. You've flown to Paris. You've island hopped, right? All of that jazz. And you start looking at the world around you, how you connect to it. And your mind starts to shift to a different paradigm. And you start to consider and say, what have I amassed that the children are going to be able to benefit from to get ahead in life? And that's where the generational wealth mindset comes into play. And again, a lot of people will say you're steering you away from it or say it's a myth. There are certain things that you have to consider about generational wealth with the conversation. And a lot of people look at it from the end result. You take the Vanderbilts, for example. Okay, so now, shout out to Jay Holmes in Japan. He was talking about that family wealth has to be structured. It has to be structured well. And a lot of that times is that in order to effectively, generational wealth is really done by you looking ahead and really trying to get the grandkids down. You've got to almost do 2 generations at the same time, which is why generational wealth works so well in the concept of ultra wealthy people. Because you think about it, they have enough money amassed that it literally would last more than one lifetime, including or encapsulating their children and their grandchildren's life, their lifetime. It's generational lifetimes that they're creating wealth for. Because they're saying that, hey, I've got enough money to live my life comfortably to achieve what is the medium or a little bit higher. And I have enough resources where I can now replicate that 2 or 3 times over. Meaning my children and my grandchildren. And really, like I've talked about before in other videos, the goal is, or the formula is, there has to be a progenitor. There has to be a person who is the initial starter, the founder that's going to build it. all the Vanderbilts, all the Carnegies, Rockefellers, the progenitor, the person who started the wealth path, did not enjoy wealth on the same level or to the same degree that the next generation and the generations afterwards have enjoyed it. Because again, it was in that growth state. It was scaling up. It was already established and built. It had been maximized or started from that one lifetime. So the next generation has to maintain and grow that scale of wealth. That's what the next generation has to do. And then the third generation has to continue to build again upon that wealth. Their thing is to get it to the point where the wealth is outpacing, or the interest or growth on the wealth is outpacing what you could spend. If they get it to that, typically afterwards, the generations after will continue to use it, and it will continue to grow if you can keep renting and completing. This is where you end up having a Rothschild type-esque family name. And like I said, they only got on the map because they failed at something that many fail at. Hell, most people don't even start getting to that point. But again, here's my question for you, and I'm gonna leave you with this. Would you rather fail at the attempt where you could say, hey, look at the Vanderbilts, look at what happened to them, right? But they're still their generations before it. It's not like the names of the people who are the descendants of the Vanderbilts we don't know. Anderson Cooper, we know who those people are, we know who those descendants are, we know their family story, but who knows about your family? What's your family name? What's your family legacy? And again, you're either going to pass or you're going to score. You know, you want to go out there and investment, you want to do this, you're either going to have to pass to the next generation, someone's going to start it. But the reason why you are where you are right now is because someone else passed many times where they could have attempted it and you could have gotten well. Okay, that's why. It breaks. Okay, all right. It's probably the best way I like recording, honestly. And the rest, right? All right, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, folks. Good morning. Our last video got cut off a little bit, but I'm going to finish up with that last thought, the thought piece on that. The family office, as I said, when families get to a certain level of wealth accumulation, and now you're in the generational aspect, you're entering in the generational aspect where, in this example, I as the father would be sort of a family head, and my children would be, I would say, the next level, the executors, if you will, and at that point it's set up where business ventures like the creation of Ancestry Lands, if that was the beginning inception, those business ideas would be done because the wealth would be accumulated to the point. I tell you, some people just can't drive. They don't look at what's coming ahead of them. They only look at what's directly in front of them. Any which way. This guy, he about to blow a red light. The businesses or business ideas or additional assets that would be created, investments, stock purchases at a large scale, these all would be approved by the main head and the executors. Any large purchases that would go into the wealth accumulation for the family would be approved by the main head and the executors, kind of like a commission, a mob. That would all be done by the vote. Any loaning of family money, like if you were one that you were looking for a down payment for a home or to buy a home, you know, for your children, grandchildren, that would all be approved by use of, you know, vote or however much the business deal worked out, but it's done at a business level. One of the main things that I see that tears down these legacies is that you have to eliminate ego. You have to have a business-minded head. A lot of times with great power comes great responsibility, as we know, the famous saying, you know, quoted by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in the Spider-Man comics. And it's very true. It's comical, but it makes a lot of sense in the sense that you have to eliminate the ego. Ego, you got to get rid of the ego. You can't be tripping on or gloating over the fact that you are you're wealthy or you're making a lot of money. You've got to get to the point where those things don't matter anymore. You got to get to the point past where the glamorous glitz, the Benzes, the showing off component, the novelty of wealth has to wear off. There you go. The novelty of wealth has to have worn off. And the other part is that the ego is that you have to get rid of the person who feels like they have to be domineering because they are the controller or the main head of wealth. Which means that at some point a parent has to look and respect their child as an equal when coming to business. These are your business partners, your group. You got to treat them as the group. And that's one of the things I've talked about with parents, that they seem to can't get out of their way when they get to a certain point. They still are trying to be above their children when they should be sort of at the level with their children when they're all adults. You're all adults. So you could take advice the same way you give advice. And it's not selective. That is a true business partnership. You eliminate those lines that you've established, those hard blurred lines, and you stay within that role of business partnership. It's a very hard thing to do, which is why wealth is a very hard thing to achieve. It's a hard thing to master. It's not for everyone, which is why everyone will not be able to achieve it. Yes, the United States has created more millionaires and billionaires than any other time before in history, but that is not an indicator of lasting and generational wealth. It is not an indicator at all. Because in 2-3 generations, those families could end up just as poor as the people who've been poor this whole time. So, and that's what I'm saying, like, okay, one generation got the greater benefit, one generation got to really inherit it and utilize it, and then when it goes to waste and it's not utilized in the same way, realistically it's just kind of a blip in time. It doesn't have what I call staying power. Like you hear about the Rockefellers, it's over 100 years old with these names of powerful people and their families. They have staying power 120 years later. When you have a corporation that's been around for 200-300 years, they have what I call staying power. So they've been around for decades and more than a century. And the family office is a type of establishment that is generational in its business handlings. And it's done so that way the squandering of wealth does not happen. Again, shout out to Jay Holmes for bringing that to my attention. And you might say, well, how did you learn about it, Phil? Again, I'm in groups where people are more knowledgeable than I am. I'm not the smartest person in my group of people that I go to search for mindset cues and information. And when I look up the information, I really do a deep dive research. Not to the level of being an expert, but to the level of being able to provide you that knowledge in videos like these. So you too can look them up. You too can research what the benefits, how you can establish that. And again, it never needs to be on the highest level, but it can be inceptual in the fact that you are starting it with the intent to build something out like that. Okay, lady, you can stop. I'm going to go. Thank you. See how that works? The light goes green for the people who goes up front. That is stopping and waiting. It's going to stop you if you're stopping. If you're going, it's going to sense that you're going past it and give you the green light. I don't understand it. Any which way. So I just say that wealth is something that can be created, but it's got to be managed properly. It's got to be established. And again, you've got to raise your kid with the group. You know, you could say I'm kind of doing that at some level. I'm moving towards that. And again, there has to be someone who's concerned not about being the one that is going to live off the wealth. There has to be a person that's looking to build it. Rockefeller was not as rich as he was when he left his wealth while he was building his wealth. Yes, he became a wealthy man, but he was not as wealthy at the end of his life. Well, I'm sorry. He was not as wealthy in the beginning of his life as he was at the end of his life. The first Rockefeller, I think it's John D. Rockefeller, I believe. So take note in that. And the problem is you got people now, they want to kind of do both. I do not believe in my heart of hearts that you can do both. One person has to give up their life. When I say give up their life, I mean you have to commit your life to the struggle, to the hustle. It's going to be the hardest for you, but the goal is to accumulate and pass down. If you do not do that, then you are absorbing all the wealth that could be passed down for yourself so you can live your life, a great, comfortable life, and good for you. You've accomplished something that everyone else was able to achieve in some shape, form, or fashion. The only thing you're doing is valuing what you have over what someone else has. But again, if they're comfortable and you're comfortable, then the outcome has been achieved. The only thing you can do is say, I have more of this than you do. I have more of that than you do. And that really doesn't matter if the person is overall happy. Again, a millionaire who has all the money in the world and can go wherever they want, and a person who has enough money to live a comfortable life, what's the difference? Other than the millionaire can go in different places and shop and different places and buy. It really is no relational difference when both people are happy. There is no difference when both of the people are content and happy in their life. Because a person who has no need and aspiration to go that far, what's wrong with that? They're fine where they're at. So again, the millionaire who has everything and the person that has a few things can both be content at the same time, leading to two qualities of life that are at the same goal and outcomes. Oh gosh, these roads are so crazy. See what I mean? But for the people who dedicate themselves to the journey of acquiring and accumulating wealth, the people who want their names remembered in time, who want to leave a lasting legacy, this conversation is going to be steered more towards you. And it's not to exclude out the middle people, the people who are, want to leave something modestly. If you're reaching for the stars and your star is generational wealth, if you fall short, then you're leaving someone the same thing that's someone's maximum. You see what I mean? If someone they're just going to leave a house and some modest amount of retirement for their children or grandchildren, and another person failed at generational wealth accumulation and ended up being able to do the same thing on the same level as another person who just aspired for leaving a house and some money and things that they, their own belongings to their descendants. If both were able to kind of do the same thing, even though the person failed, when they failed, they were at another person's height. See what I mean? So if the person who's achieving generational wealth, trying to do that, if they fail, then they are failing only to be at the level of where most people will be at if they say they won in life. The regular folks winning in life. That's where they'll be at. That's their failure is there. They fall, and they fall at the level of being secured and being well off as a doctor, if you will, right? So it's not a loss. However, if the person only aspires to have a house, some stocks, and those belongings, if they fall, then they essentially fall back to the ground. So there's a difference. So again, folks, my book is on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt. I encourage you to go there, like, share, subscribe on this video. Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing. Please go get that book, get yourself some knowledge, get yourself some information, and remember, you either own property or you'll be owned as property. That's my video for today, folks. Thanks for listening. I apologize for the breaks and the cuts, but we had some technical issues. As you can see, it's very rainy. I am your host, Philip Davis. I hope you've been educated, enlightened, and least of all, entertained. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'm out. Peace.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.